Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela, everybody. So, how was your weekend? How was your week? Did it go well? Hopefully. Let's see who's in here. David Kent, Shari D, of course. Thank you. Angels Don't Fall, Joe Bloor. Kind of quiet today. You guys have been chit chatting, though, I see. So, yeah, it's been a slow week for me, too. And the rest of the crew is another part of the Twilight Zone. Maybe. Okay, somebody said I forgot to change the date on the title of the show, and you're right, I did. I totally forgot about that. I was at work trying to hurry up, and that's where it got me. So yeah, slow Mandela week for me. But I've been feeling pretty spry. I decided to try out this thing where this diet, sort of a diet. Basically, you just avoid eating all polyunsaturated fatty acids. Like you just avoid them. You try to eat all saturated fat. So basically, the opposite of what the TV tells you to do. In case you think I'm insane, there's actually a bunch of science behind it. Of course, I wouldn't just do it for no reason. Fire. If you want to read the science, it's fairly sciency, but you can find it at fireinaBottle.net. He does sell a few things, but mostly he just writes about the chemistry, the science, blah, 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 blah. I think this gives like a quickie explanation of what you do and don't eat, etc., etc. But basically, his main theory is that so this guy was actually a butcher and used to raise his own meat, and he's done a lot of studying on current meat content of the animals eat a lot of different things now than they used to eat. So I guess I'm going into this because it's working. I feel great. I feel way better. All the supplements I had to take before, now I don't need them because this is even better than those. Those are all targeted towards mitochondrial function, and so is this, which is why I decided to try it to start with. Anyway, I suggest anybody who feels tired and fatiguey a lot, puts on weight easy, but does not take it off easy, and especially if you have a lower than normal body temperature when you wake up, that's the good time to test it. You might want to consider that system and just give it a shot. You can just give it a shot for like 2-3 weeks, see how it works for you, and then just stop if it doesn't work. You don't have to buy anything to do it. That's what's great about it. So yes, I'm in a really spry mood. This week I felt so good. I went out and did a ton of yard work. I'm in a way better mood. Okay, I'm just reading through the spiels now. The energies were crazy yesterday. I could feel the earth shaking. I was a little tired yesterday, but I wasn't sure if it's because I ate a whole bunch of wheat, which I usually don't. So that could have been it. I know, I really feel like I just hope this sticks because I started like 2 weeks ago and it's like kicking in this week really good and I just feel so much better. Live chat, yes, of course. Boink. Apparently, Bill Gates tries to put chemicals into meat so it tastes bad and it causes health problems, so people give up. Huh. Well, I have not heard that. I'd have to see some sciencey stuff. I'll tell you one thing though. They just feed all the animals different things now, and like one of the issues for a lot of animals, including ourselves, is whatever fat source we eat, we store because our body is not able to resaturate fat. So if we eat all unsaturated fat, then we just store that. We don't have a reversal system. But if you look at animals naturally, they're majority saturated fat normally. But if you feed them tons of soybean oil, that changes. The only animals that can resaturate any fat they intake is the animals with a bunch of stomachs. So like cows and sheep and bison, those guys, no matter what you feed them, as long as they don't die, they will resaturate it and store it as saturated fat, as is their birthright. So that's why on the diet you eat a lot of those things, which it just happens to be the opposite of what Bill Gates is telling us to do. You should buy directly from a farm if you can. Yes, I do agree. It is a good idea. You cut out the middleman, especially if you can get like a grass-fed organic farm and that you really know the people. Pigs filter food the least, so that's why it's recommended to overcook it. Okay, here's the problem with pigs. They're like us. Pigs and humans have a lot in common. If you feed them nothing but soybean oil and garbage, then that's what is in their fat, is soybean oil and garbage. So although if you look online, it says that pigs have all this saturated fat in their meat. They really actually do not have that anymore, because that information is from like 60 years ago. And all the processes have changed since then. So what people have done in recent years is they've went to the grocery store, bought some pork off the shelf, and had it tested by a lab for saturated fat, unsaturated fat, blah, blah, blah. And what we found is that those numbers that you're given are complete bunk. So when they do all those, oh, thank you, random crap, $20. Thank you. So what happens is it kind of throws off all the science, because they do the science and they go, okay, well, people who eat a lot of pork got sick, and then they're eating this much saturated fat. But we're not eating that much saturated fat, because the numbers for saturated fat in pork are no longer accurate. So that throws off everything. So it just gets extremely complicated. Now, the numbers for beef are still accurate, because like I said, they have the stomachs, they can resaturate their own fat. So, as much as I love the science and I showed you the website, all I know is it's freaking working. I mean, that's not all I know, but I know it's working, and it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I think maybe just genetically I might be especially predisposed to problems if I don't eat ancestral foods, basically, because saturated fat is an ancestral food. So keep that in mind. For millions of years, that's almost all that was available, other than fish. And fish is mostly monosaturated. It's not polyunsaturated. So even then, mono is better than polyunsaturated, at least according to this theory. But I feel great. I just feel so much better. I just pray it stays like this. I really do. So, yeah. I just had to talk about it. I was going to wait. I'm going to wait 2 months. But no, I'm just so happy about it. It seems I'm not too late. I happened to refresh the page once and the stream wasn't on. Refreshed again. Yeah, I was like 6 minutes late. Sorry, I came from work. So, Sapioitzen. Grow Me Homies is in. Making me work. Random crap's in. All right, so it's been a slow week for Mandelas. That's the other reason I just feel free to yap on. All right, so this is not really specifically one for this week, but I kind of haven't really specifically mentioned it. I have noticed that there has just been a ton of these well-preserved, like mummified people. Now, used to be for me that mummies were like, the Egyptian mummies, they had to remove all the organs. They took out the brain, the heart, put it in the jars, and then they had all this fancy crap, and then they wrapped chemicals and everything, wrapped the whole thing up in a bunch of fabric, and even then it didn't come out like this good, like this Tollund man. There was no Tollund man quality mummies. So this mummy is not even like on purpose. It just fell into a peat bog. Found in 1950. There is no freaking way that this thing was around. It looks like he's just snoozing hardly, the face. Look at this face. It kind of reminds me of Captain Picard with a fisherman's hat on or something, a little bit. There's no way this was around. The best we had was those Egyptian mummies then. So this whole thing fall in the peat bog, get preserved like new, like fresh. Nobody removed the brain. Nobody did any of this other stuff. Whatever, oxygen, blah, blah, blah. I'm waiting for them to like come back to life. Maybe in the next few years, they'll be like, oh, he was just dormant or something. So I just want to have that on there because it's just getting ridiculous. You can see like everything, their face isn't even caved in. The hat is all perfect. It's like, no, they just didn't have that before. I'm sorry. That's just what's wrong. The main channel I do live panels on is playing a primer rerun. It looks like I'm in two places at once right now. Ah, got it. Some retrogrades. I don't know. I'm immune to any problems this week, I swear. Yeah, I got to go change that. I don't know if I can change that. Maybe I can change it while it's live. Hold on. Let me see what happens. Oh, yeah, I think I can change it while it's live. 512. Save. All right, hopefully it's fixed now. Woohoo, yeah, cool. All right, I'm way behind. Looks like the Scarecrow from Land of Oz. Yeah, is he going to have like all the, are they going to have all the equipment? I'm even changing from extra virgin olive oil to grape seed oil. Actually, I don't even know what is grape seed. It's still a vegetable. So that's one I'm not sure of. So good ones for saturated fat are, of course, beef fat. Coconut fat or oil is very good for if you're looking for saturated fat. And what is that? Cocoa oil, cocoa oil is from the cocoa bean. It's like chocolate, like from that chocolate bean. Its saturated fat is quite low, 10% of its total. Yeah, see, that would be bad for me. Bad. The basic, there's a whole lot of really good chemistry for the system too. So basically what it shows is that the type of fat determines how hard your mitochondria runs. So if you have all polyunsaturated, we just call it PUFA because we're too lazy to say polyunsaturated over. So if you run PUFA, it basically only runs the mitochondria at half speed. And that's basically the thing, is you're in a state of torpor. You're at like a sleeping squirrel hibernating from the winter when you only run on PUFA. So one of the arguments to say is, well, you don't want reactive oxygen species, which is basically oxidation. But the problem is, in order for mitochondria to process energy, they have to create oxidation. That's how mitochondria operate. So when you're trying to say, well, we're trying to limit oxidation, the only way to do that in the mitochondria is to limit function of the mitochondria, which means less energy. So the trick then instead is to go ahead and let the mitochondria run at full speed, which is from saturated fat. But then take antioxidants that solve the problem a little further down the line. And one that's really good for that is vitamin C. In fact, some research shows that vitamin C actually increases mitochondrial function, even though it is an antioxidant, because it helps kind of mop up all the oxidation from the mitochondria, we think. But there is good research that it's pretty good for you. Vitamin E also seems to be fine as far as helping without slowing down the mitochondria. Certain antioxidants can actually slow down mitochondria, though. So, if you have a great metabolism and you're wide awake and you're not fat, you may not have any problems. But I do know people that were like that until they were about 50, and then suddenly a switch flicked and they started getting fat and metabolic syndrome and all that. So, sometimes even if you're good now, It does not always mean you'll be good down the road. Certain signaling and other hormones and things do change when you get older, so that might be enough to tip the balance. All I would say is if you feel you're slowing down, getting more tired, and starting to put on weight easy, I would suggest you try that and see if you can reverse the story. All right, I'm trying to get where the fats are. Saturated fat, 10%. The remaining fatty acids are about 18% MUFA, monounsaturated fatty, and 70% PUFA. Okay, so that would be like the evil, undead enemy of my diet would be grapeseed oil. It's all PUFA, hardly any MUFA, hardly any saturated fat. So for me, I believe that olive oil is mostly MUFA. So that would actually be better. But I am definitely going to stay with even more saturated. Like I said, I don't know if everybody has to be as careful as I do, but there's valid reasons why Jews and Muslims don't dig the pork. So, this guy who, there's actually this guy that I've been watching his blog. It's called Hyperlipid, Hyperlipid. His name is Peter. A super genius dude. But man, there's so much science and chemistry. You can't understand him unless you really are like a chemistry major. Even smart people are not going to understand it unless they're a chemistry major. So some years ago, another really smart chemistry dude named Brad started looking into that and reading that blog and trying to translate it over into something that the rest of us mere mortals could understand and expanding on it. And he had a history of actually as a pork farmer, and I didn't know this, but there are different ways to raise pigs. And in the old days, the goal was to raise pigs with this really firm fat, and they called it hard fat. And those pigs were considered vastly superior. You wanted the good fat, which was hard. And the hard fat is saturated fat. They tried to raise the pigs that way, but it costs more in the current era because soybean oil is such cheap crap. So Americans don't have pigs like that anymore. Some other countries do. And so it's interesting because sometimes you'll hear people say, well, I moved to France and I felt a lot healthier, even though I ate all this, calorie-laden food, but I felt better. Well, they have different farming practices over there. So when you're eating chicken and pork over there, the whole fat ratios in them are very different than if you eat them over here where they're full of PUFA. So basically he has gone back to, he does a lot of things, but one thing he does do is raise pigs the traditional way and sell the meat, and it's the old school stuff. Remember when you showed us that people were eating rotten meat? Yeah, that's the rendering plants, I think. Yeah, it's the rendering plants. Yeah, you don't want to look into rendering plants. Oh, okay. The thing I had on there was, I know long ago I had that glow in the dark meat. So there was like this bacteria growing on the meat. It wasn't actually rotten. They said it was edible, but it was glowing in the dark. Can you imagine? You get your beef out and maybe there's like the light turns out or someone flicks the light off in the kitchen and you see your meat glowing in the dark. So yes, it was that. There's glow in the dark bacteria everywhere in the current timeline. So I think that might have been the one you were actually talking about. The green stuff created by copper oxidation is the best antibacterial cure. I made my own and cured the necrotizing flesh-eating bacteria interesting. The other thing that if you ever can get your claws on it is the old school, when I was a kid, mercurochrome merthiolate. So it basically has a little bit of mercury in it, which is why they banned it. And I certainly wouldn't be putting it on every little cut and scratch, but man, if you had a spreading infection and you put that stuff on it, boom, that thing was done. It was done being infected. It was just done. I wish I had some of that for emergencies. I still do, because a tiny little bit of mercury is worth it if your like limb could fall off. You need to use something on your salad. It's between olive oil and grapeseed, and I have heard grapeseed is healthier. Okay, so grapeseed is healthier if you believe that saturated fat is bad for you. Okay, that's the current storyline. All I suggest is that you read, from that website and get that version. All I know is I tried to eat healthy all these years, and I got there healthy, and I got sicker and sicker and sicker. And then when I tried to eat this kind of healthy, which is the ancient way, I suddenly feel freaking great. So I think you know which way I'm going to choose, because I am tired of being literally for decades. I have been battling this. I have made some progress in the last few years, and the last 2 weeks has been the best progress I have made in ever. So I think you know which way I'm going to go on this one. Okay, so for salad dressing, yes, salad dressing is probably what made me ill. I mean, it's probably greatly contributed to my problems over the years, because I love ranch dressing. And ranch dressing is like all soybean oil and a little flavoring. So, and a little bit of buttermilk if you're lucky. Yes, ranch. I freaking love ranch. So we've been experimenting with making our own ranch. So basically, I got those ranch flavoring packets, just the powder from the store. You can get those like Hidden Valley or something. And then you can add it into buttermilk, sour cream, whipping cream, a mix of those. The last one we tried was a little buttermilk and a little sour cream, and it came out pretty good. I don't think we've got it down yet as being ranch, but it is tasty. It was definitely yummy. You would not have a problem with it, let's say. I think it'll help if I throw some Parmesan, and we have some tweaking to do, but yeah, something's got to go on there. If you're going to just go MUFA, I would say oil and vinegar is not bad. Like I said, if you have a good metabolism, you're not tired, oil and vinegar is probably fine for you. If you're like me, you probably need... It's a pretty complicated thing, and I don't want to get all into it, but basically, once you've stored a whole bunch of PUFA in your body, then every time you go to withdraw that, you're burning PUFA, which mitochondria don't like. So it's a lot harder once you've already stored a bunch of crap, because now you've got to work with that. If you are trim and healthy and fit, I don't think there's any problem with oil and vinegar. If you have problems already, then you probably have to bring it up a notch. They used to use pig fats in making medications some 67 years ago. I think pig fat 60, 70 years ago, that nice hard fat, saturated fat, pig fat, is probably a lot healthier. And like I said, in those times, it was considered vastly superior meat when it had that hard fat, which was saturated fat. The flabby stuff we have now would be considered like the lowest quality there is. In fact, we have had problems with our imports, because in some countries like France, they're like, this is super inferior quality garbage, and nobody wants to buy this crap because they have that hard fat still, at least last I've heard. I know that France is slowly succumbing to the American way, and you can see that the weight is starting to creep up on the humans there because of that. I think the packets are still bad, though. I would not say they're super healthy, but if the main goal is, this is kind of the problem I've had, okay? There are like 100 things that are probably wrong with our lifestyle and diet. There's just, where do you start? So I've been going through them and try this and try. Nothing made a huge difference until I started targeting the mitochondria issues. But the point, I think, is that there are probably some things that are really bad and some things that are only a little bit bad. And at least for me and some people, it turns out this PUFA saturated fat thing is like a major issue. So I'm targeting that really hard. And so since there's no chicken, so if you eat chicken, what you would do is you take off all the skins and only eat the protein part. because they're PUFA. And the same with pork, but it's harder because pork is all loaded with fat. So since there's no, you need some variety, So I'm accepting that the packets are probably not the healthiest in the world. Luckily, I don't have a problem with MSG and stuff. But yeah, the MSG. Some don't have MSG. Sometimes they just say spices. You don't know if there's MSG or not. I've never had a problem with MSG. So I'm deciding to avoid the PUFA, even if it means I eat a little more MSG. That is kind of a decision I've made. Ideally, you would have neither. I definitely agree with that. So I think the packets are still bad. I agree with you. But if for me the PUFA is like 10 times worse than the MSG, I think we know which way I'm going to go. I eat everything. I make everything from scratch. Yeah, I know what you mean. Once you start doing that, it's harder and harder to eat the other crap. Unfortunately, I have not really found a good ranch dressing from scratch. Solution is moderation, everything. That sounds good, but the moderation of today is not the moderation of 100 years ago. So almost all foods now are full of PUFA. And they weren't 100 years ago. And your body is designed for moderation for 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago, not for right now. So if every last thing is full of PUFA, I just read that the number one country that does palm oil exports, and palm oil is one of our cheapest saturated fats that they add into stuff. So like a lot of cakey stuff has palm oil in it, snack foods. They have banned exports, so palm oil prices are going to skyrocket, and that probably means there'll be less palm oil in foods, and that's going to get replaced by PUFA again. Making ranch with the Hidden Valley powder is way better than from the jar. So I get the Lighthouse Ranch. That's my super favorite, except for now I am not going to do that anymore. But yeah, Lighthouse Ranch, I feel like that's the tastiest I have tried. It might not be the tastiest on earth, but we'll just see what we could do. I only know is, as much as I love ranch, I love my brain working, and I love not being tired. And I love feeling like going out in the yard and doing work and being happy. I only buy generic, still don't trust it. Yeah, I just, we do more and more of our own stuff here. Anyone here have farmers as relatives or friends? So, you probably can join like a local co-op or ask around and find. There are farmers who'll sell direct. So ranch is no good for you. I've been tired too. Maybe I'll give up. Well, you just basically, I showed it before, but it's this website. Fireinabottle.net. Remember, it's .net. And so he goes over the basic theory. If you go here, the fire lifestyle. So fire in the bottle refers to the mitochondria. And basically, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, if you remember back to your biology class. And sometimes he calls it the croissant diet because in this diet, you are allowed to have starches. And assuming you don't have any problem with gluten, if you get the original croissant, which are flour and butter. Butter is legit on the diet because it's fairly saturated. So you could get like a croissant, original butter. Walmart has those, and so does Costco. And then you can put like a slab of steak or some kind of beef thing on there, maybe some butter. Let's see, what else did I put? I made some of my weird funky ranch that was out of saturated fat. I put some of that on there. You slap some cheese on there. That would be like an ideal lunch for this diet. So you would eat, and it tells you what to avoid. reminds you that chicken and pork, unless you get the specially grown, carefully developed, not PUFA laden ones, would be off the menu. You can do chicken, but you want to get the take off all the fat of the chicken, so it's mostly just the protein part. Let's see, beef, dairy products, chocolate, stearic acid, which is in beef. Also, you can do coconut fat and cocoa butter. So this is one guy who just did it. So this guy was on the diet, but keep in mind he just eats whatever he wants out of this list. You're not, the whole point is to not have to control your eating. Like your body should control itself. Like you should feel full and then stop eating. Like skinny people, they eat until they're full and then they stop eating because they feel full. That's how we should be. That's the theory, that when you're full, you're full. So the theory is basically there's an imbalance in storage and retrieval that makes you hungry. You store the fat, you have trouble getting it out. So when it's time, 4 hours after you eat, when you don't have any more food running around in your system and it's time to withdraw from the fat banks, your body is supposed to withdraw from the fat banks. But if it's having difficulty withdrawing, it just makes you hungry again. So then you're like, oh, I want to eat again. You always feel hungry and you're always storing fat, but you don't withdraw it. So how do these squirrels that go into torpor, and they have that same kind of a body system where they're in storage fat mode, then they solve it by not eating for the whole winter. So they're really sleepy and lazy, and they sleep and they don't eat for weeks at a time, and that fat very slowly melts off. Problem solved. The thing is, humans aren't going to do that, so torpor is not good for us. I am one of those skinny people. Yep. So I mean, if you're thin and you feel like your mind is really good, and I would just say, don't overeat on PUFA and stick with MUFA and sad fat. You got to think, soybean oil is completely unnatural to us. Humans have never eaten that level. Now, fresh fish, okay, has a lot of MUFA. Oil, vinegar, MUFA. Avocado oil, MUFA. And then all the animals would traditionally be saturated fat, ancient times. So MUFA and saturated fat would be much more healthy for us. I eat a lot and never get full. Yeah, you just have really good, there's probably a strong genetic component on where the tipping point is reached. And I think what's happening with all the PUFA is that more and more people are slipping off of a healthy metabolism. Some people just have a very fast metabolism, and it's hard for them to get pushed off that table. But I mean, like I said, I've known people who did fine all the way up until they got older, and then as you age, certain hormones drop, and then they fell off the table. So just be careful. But there's a lot of genetic component to it. And also, I do think if you ate healthy saturated fat for a large segment of your life, that probably also helps. I actually train myself to ignore hunger. So, that's one way to do it. But I'll tell you what's a lot easier is if you just don't feel hungry, because instead your body just pulls that energy out of your fat. And so you feel hungry for 2 minutes and then you just flip over and now you're not hungry. That is the way it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to ignore gnawing hunger for hours and hours and hours. It's just not how we're designed. So proper metabolism, you don't have to ignore hunger because you won't feel it unless you actually needed food. That's the theory. And it really makes sense to me. But, look at the rest of your family too. I mean, there's genetic components. So I'm just saying something to think about. Mushrooms. Yeah, we actually have been growing shrooms, regular mushrooms, not the magic kind. And they're pretty easy to grow, mushrooms. You can just get some Like if you live anywhere that has oak trees, like you can find oak logs laying around, you can grow them on there. You just have to squirt a little mist on them. Fasting speeds up the metabolism. So when you fast, insulin drops. It makes it easier to withdraw from the fat cells. However, when you fast, metabolism does drop. But I have a feeling that that might be part of the big push for fasting is basically if you are in torpor, like a squirrel hibernating for the winter. Like I said, how do squirrels solve the problem of getting fat? Is they fast. There's no food around, so they don't have much choice, right? But that's how you kind of manage the PUFA metabolism, by fasting. But your metabolism does drop some, so it's a bit of a struggle. And if you eat saturated fat, it's going to make it easier. Not that I'm against fasting, though. I do think that there's a place for it. I think Brad is not sure on fasting. He likes short-term fasting. He's just not sure about real long-term fasting. Like eating once a day seems really natural to a lot of people. Butter is good for you now, as expected. Yes, butter is definitely on the diet. The blue people breathe in food from vents in the ground in Fantastic Planet. Okay. Is that weird story where they found those two weird kids and one of them died and one said they lived underground? Or I'm not sure. I know there's this weird story, like legend story thing that's in the current timeline that I just heard about it like a year or two ago. I cannot find lard or beef tallow in shops around me. Unfortunately, I actually like food cooked in lard. Okay, so the old school lard was good. The new school lard is all PUFA because of what pigs eat now. But tallow is still good. And I don't know, if you live in the United States, then you can order it from Etsy. And it's pretty cheap, too. And you are right that French fries taste about 10 times better when cooked in either tallow or lard. Let's see, where is that? Orders, shop manager, purchases. I just bought some, actually. I've bought several batches from these people. Oh, where did it go? All purchases. Didn't I just buy from them? It should be on there. I wonder if it didn't go through. It might not have. Now I'm going to have to dig back. You can see all the junk I've been buying. Most of it's for the store. I think this means my recent order did not go through. I'm going to have to reorder. There. This kitty. This is the store. It's the Sulu. TheSulu. This one is pig lard, but if you go on there, they also have tallow. Here, tallow, 100% pure grass-fed beef tallow, $33, and I believe it is free shipping, so it's not bad. Oh, cost to ship 18, sorry. Yeah, that's about right. It came to be like about $50. So yeah, you can get tallow from the Sulu, and that's anywhere in the United States. I sometimes find it at Smart and Final too. That would be the other place. So yes, we make our own French fries. If you make your own French fries, then it is on the diet. So we have like a little fryer, and then let's see, how does that work? We slightly boil the big potatoes when we can find them, until they're half done, and then chop them into fries and then throw them in the fryer. And they have to be pretty hot. You can find info online on that. You could pretty much save it because it's tallow, so you don't really have to refrigerate it, so we just cover it. And then when it runs down, then we do fish in it because fish makes it all smell like fish. So the last bit we do fish, and then it's all stinky fishy, and then we throw out the last bit and put fresh in. I only grew shiitake and lion's mane shrooms before, but I need to get some spores or syringes badly. You can get those on Amazon. That's where we get ours from. So you can buy like bags of spores. And if they come and they're not like sprouted good, we put them on top of our hot water heater, and then the heat from the hot water heater really like germinates them fast. Another reason some cultures don't eat pigs is because some cannibalistic religions ate humans, claiming they ate pigs, and the meat being fairly similar kept pigs to eat the humans. Yeah, pigs will eat anything, including humans. So yeah, I think others, there have been certain illnesses that go in pigs in some regions. I do suspect that some religious stuff had more concrete reasons why it was instituted, and they think of it as a religious thing, was like, okay, don't eat this because it's poison, and it becomes like a religion. It's like, no, they're just telling you not to eat it because it was bad for you. Lion's mane. Did we? I don't think we have grown lion's mane, actually, now that you mention it. It does grow wild around here, so it might be doable. Does it grow on oak? Because we got a boatload of oak, so I could probably just like stick it on some oak. Let's see. Just need the stuff to start growing that stuff. I have definitely seen spores of even magic mushrooms online, so it should be findable. Unfortunately, I don't remember where I saw it. So there actually are a fair number of places that'll grow the spores. So I don't know if you're talking about magic mushrooms here, but there's like a subreddit that talks all about how to grow magic mushrooms in different ways. There's different techniques. It's kind of a hassle. It sounds like it's kind of a thing where like you get they have to be like really, the medium all has to be sterile, and if you screw up and like one stray spore of some bacteria or some crap gets in there, it screws up the whole batch, and then you're like totally out of luck. So you spend like all this work, and 2 months pass, and then the batch gets contaminated, and it's like, wah. However, if it works right, you end up with some giant, ridiculous boatload of shrooms, more than you'll be able to use reasonably, unless there's a whole bunch of you, because those things don't last forever, unfortunately, which is why I won't mess with it. I bought lard once and I didn't like the smell. Yeah, so, you got to realize the pigs now, they aren't like they used to. The tallow, I think, smells better, though. It just smells like beef. Excuse me. The dominant element here in Orion is nitrogen as opposed to hydrogen. Yeah, I know there's a ton more nitrogen in the atmosphere, but I'm not sure what I really understand what that means exactly. And you got to wonder about this whole PUFA MUFA thing. I mean, maybe it wasn't even a big deal 15 years ago. I don't know. All I know is it's working now. It's easy to keep the air sterile. Growing mushrooms is fairly simple. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I do know that there are people who put in a lot of effort and then are on there crying that it didn't work. So, it does seem like it's a bit of an accomplishment when they finally get it. You can buy the grow kits in the Netherlands. So if you go on this, if you do reddit.com, I think it's like if you just type in magic mushrooms, let's see. Reddit. Okay, so this is the Sulu if you want to get that tallow. Reddit.com. 6 years from now. Somewhere on here is the subreddit. Let me see if this will get you there. And they talk about the growing, but I'm just not sure if I remember the name. It might not have been magic mushrooms. I think that is the eating of them, but if you go on here, our magic mushrooms, it might have the grow information on the side here. Let's see. No. If you go on here and ask, though, probably people will send you to the grow. It had some weird name now that I'm thinking about it. You can see somebody was growing them here. Oh, it looks like there's some info in here. It's been 7 days. Should I introduce blah, blah. Okay, so then there's a lot of people growing them on here. Okay, so anyway, if you need help, I find that people are fairly helpful on Reddit when you're in the niche groups. So, in the US, you're not technically allowed to buy that, but I have run across websites that will send it here. They'll send the spores. I think that dogs can't sniff them and they're hard to find and stuff, so they'll send the spores. Cured meat is usually fine. Yeah, so the thing that I'm working on is just about saturated fat. So whether it's cured or not, it depends on what the fat was. Saturated fat actually cures and holds really nice. It's very stable, though, so it doesn't get rancid. You could take the oak logs, drill holes in them, and make really cool mushroom logs. Load the holes with spores. Yes, we have done that. In fact, my friend Dave was actually cutting them up and selling them at the farmer's market for a while. So he would put the spores in and get it growing and then take it down to the farmer's market. They were selling pretty good. So if you are type I blood, you will notice your body temperature is usually less than 98.6 to slow your metabolism. So that's an interesting thing because they were kind of looking at like, okay, what is your metabolism? And I think I had on here a year or so ago. They're saying, hey, look, everybody's metabolism is actually lower than we thought. So the PUFA interpretation of that is that if you look at historically, every country that adds a bunch of PUFA to their diet, their temperature drops. And the countries that didn't have the temperature drop were the ones that weren't eating any PUFA, like the Inuits and stuff, were the last to go. And the French, because they're very much into their traditional foods. So PUFA drops body temperature. Now, it could be that your blood type has an influence on how much you respond to PUFA as well. So this can be very complicated. Spores are legal everywhere for science learning. Spores of magic mushrooms are legal everywhere. Are you serious? I'm not disputing. I'm surprised. I don't know, though. I don't know. Maybe that's why they sell them then. Homemade Mexican mole has peanuts, almonds, oregano. So peanuts are all PUFA. Chocolate would be fine. All that other stuff's fine. So PUFA definitely drops body temperature. In fact, that's one of the things I've been doing is every morning I take my temperature. And my temperature when I started, it was as low as 94 degrees one morning. I actually thought that my thermometer might be broken. Other mornings it was 95.6. I was really shocked about the 94. I wonder if it's even accurate when it gets that low. This morning, it was 98.3. It's slowly come up over the last 2 weeks. And as it's come up, it felt a lot better. A lot better. So PUFA, P-U-F-A, stands for polyunsaturated fatty acids. And then if it's, so that would be like what's in soybean oil. It's polyunsaturated fatty acids. But we're too lazy to say that, so we say PUFA. And then monosaturated fatty acids, we call it MUFA, and that's kind of in the middle according to this diet. Okay if you have a healthy metabolism, but if you don't, then avoid. 94 degrees is very low. Yes, Yeah, I don't know about the estrogen. All I know is my temp's up and I feel great. It takes a couple to a few years to grow mushrooms from plugging logs. It has to be the correct wood. Okay, so I don't know. All I know is Dave was saying the wood about 6 months dead works out good. So like if it looks like it died about 6 months ago, or some that we cut and you just kind of sit on it for 6 months. But he has this treatment thing he does where he like boils them or something. And he'll get like fresh wood to be ready for the shrooms right away. So we don't have to wait 6 months. And then he drills and he's got the spores are already started. So he and if they're not totally started, we put them on the top of the hot water heater. In like a week, they're all going. And then we plug them, and like in a few weeks, we're going to have shrooms. So we don't take that long. But Dave is really good at figuring out how to make stuff go fast. Yeah, you can buy the shrooms to grow, but it's cheaper to buy you have to send a whole log in the mail. It's expensive because it weighs a lot. The wood has to be, yeah, it has to be mostly dead, but not too dead. But like I said, Dave has his secret strategies for like, he gets fresh cut. So I have kind of oaks around, and they're falling over on me sometimes. Like we just had a big chunk fall in the freaking driveway in December. So there was a whole bunch of wood available, let's just say. My temp is 98.6 to 99. Yeah, mine actually, like one day recently it was 99. I was shocked that it dropped back down to 98 in a few hours. But so yeah, you probably are fine. But some people naturally just eat more beef and mufa, and you might also. Like I said, I really, looking back historically, I think there's a couple things that were my downfall. One was I figured out that my face was better skin-wise if I didn't eat dairy. And so I cut out most dairy. But dairy was one of my top saturated fat sources. So it was good for my face, but bad for my mitochondria. Okay. Then I developed a taste for ranch dressing, and I started eating that all the time. I'd cut out most of the cheese, started eating the ranch, and so you could see that would have drastically switched my PUFA saturated fat intake ratios quite a bit. Other things, I just was like trying to eat healthier, and so they always like, they're pushing the MUFA and stuff. So now I'm like, no, I'm going to eat that crap I used to eat. Like macaroni and cheese, it's like, man, I was healthy when I ate all that unhealthy food. So now I'm back to eating the unhealthy food, and I feel a lot better. So we've used a variety of logs, big logs, small logs. Hasn't been a big issue. He likes them a little bit larger so that they hold the moisture nicely. Ordering a log. Well, the city folks don't have access to old oak tree logs, so. So yeah, I mean, it may be that some people just naturally eat a balance that's fine for them. Depends on what you like to eat, really. I think if I had eaten just a balance of MUFA and not too much PUFA from the start, I wouldn't have gotten this far into this mess. Trees grow in cities, but they don't do a lot of oaks. Oak trees do not like growing in the cities. They're whiny. They don't like unnatural root systems and crappy soil. They need the mycorrhizae balance. They don't like water off season. They don't like people walking all over their roots. They don't like pollution. So you don't see a lot of oaks in the city. JoJo's. JoJo's is in here. JoJo's. So JoJo's is making a joke about warm water salmon. We had that on the show a while ago, that there's a salmon in California as far south as LA, and she insists that they would taste really bad. So I said, I'm going to try some if I get some. And she said, nope, warm water salmon would be gross. We all have tons of woods in and near Pittsburgh. Okay, so I'm just looking at, like, I'm thinking of people I know on the coast here in San Diego. Most of them would not have easy access to, say, an oak tree log. But even if you did, you'd have to ask permission. You can't just go cut somebody's log off their oak tree. You know, like I did actually have someone ask if they could take some of my dead oak, and I said yes, but you can't just go there. And almost all of the woods around here would be protected, federal or state or some kind of park. You cannot cut anything in there. So I don't know how far you'd have to go. And I'm not even sure if you're allowed to just go to BLM wood land and cut. And there's only, once you get way out to BLM, that's like desert. There's not going to be oak trees out there. So it's not that easy. I mean, they'd really have to drive like 2 hours, and lots of parks here in Long Beach. Yeah, but I don't think you're allowed to cut off any branches. Yeah, warm water salmon is a paradox. I know, but they say that the salmon now is native to Los Angeles rivers, and that's not cold there. The stripe on my shower curtain is now black, and it used to be pink. Had this curtain a few years. It's cloth. It's not mold. Yeah, the ultimate black mold growing in a straight line. Yes, that would be scary. Yeah, that's pretty creepy when it changes like that. I've definitely had some weird little small changes, but you know, it's funny. Arctica can move, and it's almost not as much as if there's one thing in your house, like in your face, even though it's small to everyone else, it's like right in your face. Can still be pretty shocking. JoJo's rice in California is a huge Emmy. It is for me. I think JoJo said it wasn't. She didn't think it was that weird though. So yeah, people sell firewood, like the AM PMs and places like that sell firewood here. You can't find it. It's kind of expensive too. When it's in your house, it's personal. Yeah, exactly. Rice patties in Cali. What a joke. I know. And not just rice patties, but they're now the native environment of baby salmon. That, you know, pink to black, it's a little shocking too. There are a lot of Asians in Cali. Blame it on them. Oh, you know, that reminds me. There is the flag of Escondido. Okay. I was just laughing because so for years, I've been here like 20 years, and I sign up for adult education classes occasionally. And the latest one I've been doing is this aerobics class. And this is the third time I've signed up for the class. So I sign up for all the classes that are available, and then the summer comes and there's a new batch. And like, this is the third batch of them. And I have never seen this. And so I go to sign up and I look at their logo and I'm like, what the F? I do not remember that nice little saying on the logo. And turns out that is not. I thought, well, did we get a new logo? No, we did not get a logo. It's the flag of Escondido. I've only been here 20 years. I have never seen this saying on the flag of Escondido. I approve, though, and I feel like I even want to take credit for the flag of Escondido. Escondido, city of choice. Now, I thought that our flag said like hidden something. It was because Escondido means hidden, and I remember it saying hidden something. But now it has always said city of choice. And I love it, city of choice. Another interesting thing when I looked up the history of Escondido is they now say that Escondido may mean hidden waters, because the word Escondido means hidden. And so they're like, well, what's hidden? And so they used to say, well, we think it means a hidden valley, because there's kind of like we're like a little valley with some hills around. It's kind of weak, though, because we're not very well hidden. The hills aren't that high. It's not exactly the secret of the universe or a surprise that our location is here. But they used to say, well, it must mean hidden valley. But now there's like, well, it could mean hidden valley, or it could mean hidden waters. So I'm like, oh, so do we have hidden waters now? Could be water source. But anyway, we're city of choice, which as a libertarian leaning political orientation that I have, city of choice is great. I love it. And I'm very suspicious about that, not having been here before. That's what I recall rice grew over there in Oriental lands. I know, and I thought it was like tropical. And it's Northern California with these freaking rice paddies, and it's freaking cold up there. So it's like rice aroni, the San Francisco treat. Okay, but they didn't grow it there. They just sold it there. See, JoJo's remembers Arkansas as the rice state. I'm like, I don't remember any state being the rice state. It was Asia. They grew it in Asia. We imported that crap. I mean, not that I dislike rice. Don't mind to see that, but the pilot on 74 Gear YouTube channel explained how runaway numbers are based on their compass settings and can be changed when the compass changes. What the F? He said this very casually. Huh, I'm kind of confused now. Four leaf clover, the pilot on 74 Gear. What does he mean by when the compass changes? That's weird. Underground aquifer runs underneath. So, I mean, it's not a total shock to me because I know there is this one area of Escondido that there's a lot of water under. Um, but I just think the whole story has just changed, though, because they didn't used to have that in the storyline, that it meant hidden waters. So, is that expanding? I'll tell you one thing. If you look at the map of San Diego, we used to just have like two areas where the water was encroaching, like the Agua Hedionda, and one other it's like a inland encroachment of water. There was just two of them, and then there was the ports, and then there was just two little lakes, and that was it. But now, like, the rivers that feed the lakes are growing, and they're getting fat. They're like expanding arteries everywhere. And if you look around, it's just crazy. There's just way more water. The ports are just, it's twice as big as it ever was. And there's another area above the ports that now has all these waterways. I'm going to have to look into it because it's just confusing. I'm like, what is that even? Saunas are everywhere here now. Oh, you mean like natural hot springs? I'm going to have to see if there's some around here. Yeah, how does the compass change? Uncle Ben's rice is from Louisiana. Okay, so Uncle Ben's rice, I don't know where they grew it from originally, but basically, apparently, it's like pre-cooked or something. It's not like normal. Or, was it even just fake rice? Let me see. Uncle Ben's rice. There was something funky about it. I think it might have been pre-made and then reformulated into rice. I know it always sucked. Parboiled rice and other related foods products. There was something weird about it though that it sucked. I don't remember. It's like pre-cooked or something. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, it's really bad rice taste wise. I guess if you're used to it, but mom used to always cook it and I didn't like it. And then I went over to some Asian person's house and then I ate their rice. I'm like, well, that's way better. I thought I hated rice until I ate like Asian food rice. Long grain, yeah. But even the short grain stuff is okay as long as it's not Uncle Ben's. I do like long grain though. Minute rice is pre-cooked and it's reshaped. That might be it. I think it was just, there was something funky about it. It's not good. Ugh. I'm just whiny about my food, I guess. But okay, let's see. Man, I can just talk about anything, can I? Mount Etna's vortex ring. I almost had this on last time. So, what do we got here? This is kind of weird. So volcano weirdness just keeps going. So apparently now it's Mount Etna spits out these smoke rings. It's just like ridiculous. It's like, you know how smokers spit out smoke rings? Well, apparently now Mount Etna does it too. And they're just like when smokers spit out rings. I feel like it's another clown world thing. So instead of like actually exploding, it does this kind of thing where it makes Mount Etna makes these rings. Oops, that one didn't load. Blah. Here's some more. And okay, these are ash rings instead of smoke rings. Okay, here's a ring and then some regular smoke. I'm like, I'm sorry, but no, they did not used to like they're smokers now or something. Here it is spitting out another one. You can't make this stuff up. I think we're getting trolled. So this is what it's spitting out over here. Really, I probably should have had that one as the thumbnail, but volcanoes will be farting. Well, they already have sulfuric gas. What else do you want? Yeah, they have their own weather systems and lightning nowadays. I don't recall that in the old days. They used to just spit out smoke, ash. They didn't used to have lightning and like thunder and all that. Four Leaf is an aviation channel, not ME. So how do they just say when the compass changes? I mean, I don't know. How did he even mean that? Oh yeah, the mud pots. I did have the mud pots on before. Now volcano. Yeah, they're making O-shaped smoke. Yep. And sometimes just in isolation, they'll barf out one ring and that's it sometimes. Yeah. Just no. Actually, I should look and see when they started doing that. Volcano smoke rings. Wiki? Does Wiki have it? Okay. Volcanoes blow smoke rings. Now we know how they do it. See how old this is. This is a smoke ring. It looks like a fire ring. Look at that one. Rises above the mouth of Yasser volcano and Vanuatu. As seen by an infrared camera. Okay. Placed at the summit by researchers of Auckland, New Zealand, blah, blah, blah. All right, what's the date? This is 2019, so it's definitely not, 3 years ago they figured out how. The ghostly hoops have been spotted above volcanic vents around the world, but how they form has long been a mystery. Okay, so there's nothing new about the smoke rings in this timeline. They can be just as awe-inspiring during their quieter moments, like when a simmering peak blows a lazy smoke ring into the sky. Says if... And they want me to sign in so they can go pound sand. You guys get the drift anyway. I don't even think we've seen the half of it. I mean... So many wacky things. How many more things are even going to come? China had red skies and nobody knows why. I did see that. I was kind of lazy about checking it out because I was thinking, oh, it's probably going to be another more red dust from like Saharas or something. So that's interesting. And it was really red too. Really red. I did see the images. So they don't even, they're just giving you weird stuff now, huh? 3 days ago, Zozan sky turns blood red, triggering panic. All right, let's check it out. So I saw I kind of got blasé about the red because they've been coming up every time there's a lot of dust in the air. Residents in China's port city of Zhoushan were left stunned as the skies above them briefly turned blood red over the weekend, sparking fears of a possible fire or unknown phenomena. Well, it is an unknown phenomena, and it's not a fear of an unknown phenomena. Meteorological experts concluded that the color came from lights refracted from local boats in low clouds in the region. Well, that sounds like a bunch of hooey. It sounds like they made that baloney up. That one I'll pick up later. So now if your whole sky turns red, it's some lights far away somehow lit your whole sky. Officials in the area also confirmed that no fire was reported in the city around the time skies turned red. The red sky became one of the top trending topics on Chinese social media. Well, yeah, I would think so. All right, so that's their lame excuse. Lights refracted from local boats. What kind of boats have like that kind of red lights that this just sounds so stupid. Lights reflected from local boats. Wait, I'm not getting it here. I said red skies. Okay. Let's try India TV. So just in Zhoushan, apparently. Rare phenomena. Look at that. Okay, it does look a little bit localized, but still. I don't think we're done with this funky sky color. So we're getting a lot of red lately. And then there's been some kind of green before, like, what was it? Hurricanes or something, tornadoes. And then I have in the last few years seen a couple of purple. Kind of like lavender, but still way strange. Lavender skies for no apparent reason. Someone's blaming it on Rayleigh scattering. When weather conditions are good, more water in the atmosphere forms aerosols which refract and scatter the lights of fishing boats and create the red sky seen by the public. I don't know. I'm having a little bit of trouble swallowing that one. Are you anywhere near Calaveras County in Northern California? No, I'm in SoCal. I don't know if you're not even talking to me, though. Fire clouds more common, yes. I just can't help feeling this very biblical, Wasn't there something in the Bible about rivers running red? And we are seeing that now. And I was seeing that even a little bit before I knew of the Mandela, where they were like, well, this river in China got polluted and ran red. I'm like, well, what pollution turns a bajillion gallons of water red? Just bright, bright, bright red for days and days and days. Okay, so what are we on here? At Metna's, Tollund, that. Okay, and that's all me. Only two left. The Popeye thing is weird. Oh, yeah. Okay, so... Mm, mm, mm. Dang it. Here. I can't make my fingers work. Okay. Done it. Let me see if I can. So the Last Supper, God, there's a lot of them. And I'm trying to find the image where you can see the whole thing again. Dang, look at how many versions. It's crazy. I'm glad I saved one of them back in the day. Man, how hard is it to find the whole thing? What I want to see is maybe if I write the painting. The pulled back version so you can see what's around it. And strangely enough, I don't find it. Well, that didn't help at all, did it? Wall? How hard is this? Cathedral? Is it getting shifty? Because I can't find it. Here's one, I think. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you, but I can't find it. This one kind of shows it. I don't remember this. So below here is the Last Supper, as they say it is now on the wall. And then a while back, I said I didn't remember there being more stuff on the top, okay? But I covered that. But now the stuff on the top is partly painted out. I think it's because of previous damage to this building having ruined that part. But last time I looked here, this was done in painting. And now it is just white. A big section of it. And I just have a hard time thinking I wouldn't remember that. Let me see if I can find a better image of it. You can see here, this is not a mistake. It's what exists on the wall now. Maybe if I can get the name of the... let me see what the name of that painting wiki... The name of that... Something Basilica, I think it's called. Leonardo. See, they don't even show it there. Blah, 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 blah. Look at that. Oh, here. This shows it. Look, this is all painted out now. I just don't remember it being like that. As best I can tell, it was... I don't want it that big. It was damage here or something. The last time I looked, this was done up here. First, I never heard of it. Then suddenly this showed, and now it's like... And then it was done, and now it's half white again, and I'm like so confused, so confused. So I call Mandela, basically. It's a Mandela on the Mandela. I accept cash only and foil. Okay, I missed out. Are you guys making tin foil hats? Creation of Adam, which used to be creation of man. It was man and God. Then it was, what is it now? It was man and God, creation of man. Then it's creation of Adam. To me, that's a whole Mandela in itself. But last I checked, God's hand was a little higher. I wouldn't be surprised. It's going along millimeter by millimeter, it seems, on that painting. So each time I look, I feel like it's just a little bit lower. Well, yes, it's a little bit lower. A little lower than last time. It is clearly lower now. You can't argue that it is not lower. It is lower. But it's kind of interesting because it's almost like his finger raised a little. So God's finger is still higher, but like his whole entourage has dropped and his hand has come up, and the hand itself, it's like God used to be like this and now he's like this. So it used to be like this. So it's interesting when you think about it. It's lower here and craning up. Yeah, so the finger itself is still higher, but the hand is lower. Look at the whole shape of the hand. It just looks like a mess. It's uncomfortable. You try doing that. I don't think I'm trying to get my finger to even do that business. And you know what? It ain't easy. I almost need like help with my other hand. His hand looks all blotchy and unhappy. It's not a happy camper there. All right, what do we got? Let me look at the whole actual deal here. I think that one's not fine enough. Maybe this one? No, I don't like these crappy low quality pixels. I mean, I could do something drastic like try to get my computer to boot up its version, but that could take even longer. Man, how hard is it to find this picture? I might have to remind me to go back to it, and I'll try to find it on my computer. Man has elevated himself above the creator. I don't know, the whole pose is interesting. It's like God has sank, but his finger still struggles. I mean, why not just move like your whole hand up, you know? Look at the people around me. The mental state seems to be prevalent. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That thing where love is gone from the land. I won't say gone, but it is not the way it used to be. There's definitely good people around still, though. I think it's important to remember that there are still good people. This is like a time of testing. It's easier to be bad because a lot of other people are being bad, and it's more accepted. And so I think anybody who wants to be bad now feels pretty comfortable doing it because it's so much more accepted now. So it's a real time of testing because it's easy to be bad. But as long as you don't want to be bad and you work towards the other direction to be a good person, I think that's the most important. Now more than ever, I've heard it said that, you can learn more in times like this because it's so much more of a test. When everybody around you is good, you're going to just try to be like them, right? But when a lot of people around you are bad, so much easier. Well, I'm not as bad as that guy. I think I actually have to watch that too, because I'm like, well, I'll be busy passing judgment. I'm not as bad as her. Look at her. Look at that guy. He's terrible, But that doesn't help me get better. That's just me like saying I'm better than them, but that's not me improving. You know, it's easy to find some sucky person and say you're better than that guy or that girl. But a lot harder is to, point that finger back at yourself, stop comparing, and work on your own issues. And that's something I have to constantly remind myself of. Okay, one more. I think there's one more on this thing. This was kind of a weird, weird little thingy that I don't know if it's a Mandela. I've never heard of it though. In fact, now that I think of it, I think it has to be a Mandela. Just by the way, I knew something else. I have not known of this one, but this one was by John Sincek, I believe. I'm not sure how to spell that last name. Cincek. So good find. And what he noticed was they say polar bears do not drink water. So the reason I think this is a Mandela, I don't know about polar bears in the past drinking water or not, but I do know that they used to say that only koala bears don't drink water, that was unique for polar bears. And that has changed. Or koala bears. It was unique for koala bears, but that has changed. And I've said it before that koala bears now, they say, rarely drink water. But that was like a thing when I was a kid. That was one of their magic things that they were special for, was that they didn't drink water. They got all of their moisture from the leaves that they consumed. But now they do drink water. So if they were the only ones that didn't drink water, then polar bears could not also not drink water. So now polar bears don't drink water, but koala bears do drink water. And it's kind of weird because there's plenty of water around. I mean, why would they? There's ice, there's all kinds of stuff. It doesn't really feel like to me that polar bears are in imminent danger of freezing to death if they took a couple bites of that ice. And so what was weird is, I'll look this one up, but when I looked up last time, the story was polar bears get their water from the chemical reaction that breaks down fat. Now, it wasn't really clear if they meant like the fat that polar bears eat or the fat that's in their butt when they're breaking it down. But, see, their own water using a chemical reaction to break down fat that they have ingested. Oh, okay, so this is ingested. And I found it in a couple other places. Polar bears have evolved so they don't need to drink liquid water. High-fat diet polar bears get their water from the chemical reaction. I have never heard of that. Even with the koala bears, they said they just got water from all them leaves, which kind of seemed like a stretch because leaves don't seem that juicy, but I'm like, okay, whatever. You've heard the joke that at the North Pole you need a refrigerator to keep your water from freezing, right? No, I have not heard that. They spend most of their life at sea on drifting ice packs. They spend most of their life at sea on drifting ice packs. Actually, I've never even heard of that. They spend most of their life at sea. Well, that's actually... So years ago, they spent most of their life on the ice that came off of Antarctica. Well, that Arctic is gone. So the Antarctic shelf. And the stink of the story was that, these ice shelves are shrinking and their polar bears are losing all of their territory and they have no place to hunt. But that was kind of a solid land because they were ice floes attached to, I guess there is no land, right? So I guess it has to be this way. But I don't know, it's making me crazy. But yeah, the story didn't used to be that they were like on drifting ice packs or on the shores of the Arctic. It was like they spent most of their time on the shores of the Arctic, on the ice packs along the shore. And they were going to starve because of global warming was melting all the ice packs. But I guess now they just swim around a lot in the new reality. Eating snow to obtain water is metabolically expensive. I mean, the freaking things are swimming in ice water for like days. I think that they could handle a couple bites of snow without losing all their body heat. Ooh, it's metabolically expensive. I don't know. I'm just not buying that story now. It would take too much energy to melt down enough snow. Consequently, polar bears have evolved so they don't need to drink liquid water. For example, when they hunt seals, polar bears will eat the blubber but leave the rest behind for scavengers. Huh, I've not heard of that. As far as I knew, I mean, I could definitely see them preferring the blubber, but like if there's good food there, you're just gonna like not eat it. Oh no, it's not fat. I don't like that crap, I guess now. Can see, I don't know. I mean, really, wouldn't you just sit there and guard it and then when you got hungry again, eat more? That was the way it was before. So what, will they not eat skinny humans then because you got no fat? It's like, oh, that guy's too much of a beanpole. I'm not eating him. Man and God, creation of man. The only misname is, yeah, so that was creation of Adam. It went from man and God, creation of man, to creation of Adam. It's interesting because man and God was, I don't know, it just seemed nicer to me because we were just together, I guess, the two. It didn't have any judgments or anything on good, bad, or height. Creation of man. I guess they're all fine. It just, they have a different flavor. So now, now creation of man to creation of Adam. That is a little different though, because they technically, Adam is a man, right? But I mean, it kind of leaves open that he's not. I mean, maybe I'm just getting like really conspiratorial here, but anyone remember the story of a bear being made fun of in the Bible for being bald and he kills 6 kids? Now, now it's 2 female bears killing 42 kids. Okay, I don't remember either, sorry. Yeah, polar bear, the North Pole shifted away, so polar bears are now. You know, the more I talk to them, I'm like, well, they have to be because there's no more Arctic to have shores. So there's no more shores. So they have to, it kind of makes sense. So they just talked about them swimming and stuff. So it's just so ironic because they're like, they said that polar bears are going to go extinct because global warming was taking away all the shore ice. And then what went away was the shores. The ice is still there, but the shores are gone. Don't ever tell me nobody tell me something's going extinct because some weird thing. I just not believe in it anymore. Yeah, man and God. That's what it was. Like 5 years ago when I first started following the Mandela. And that's why I trust it because God used to be way back. Well, for you, it'd be way back and way up. And first, God came way down. That was the first Mandela. Holy crap, God used to be way up here. Now he's down here. He was still a little higher than he is now, but it was way down before. And so that's when I started following it. Like that was right when I was learning about the Mandela, like the first month. Then all of a sudden, a couple months later, whoosh, he was in, like so close, but still the hand was above Adam. And then since then, it's been a real slow, but they were big changes in the beginning, huge changes. Okay, I think that's it. So that was by John Sinkek. Sinkek. I like Sinkek. I'm here by W. John Sinkek. That's it though. I'm done. You guys got anything? Despite all the endless yapping, much yapping about my new love of saturated fat. Sea ice. The Arctic ice still freezes every winter. Yeah, so I've said before, I went through one timeline early on where in the summer, all the ice melted. That was freaked me out. It was open seas in summer, just open. Like the whole thing was gone. I'm like, where did all the polar bears go? I don't know. But it was open seas. And I guess they were all on like the islands around Canada there or something. And then a few years later, they said it was what did they had a word for it. Not semi-permanent, but that was like it might or might not melt kind of ice was the word they used, but I can't remember the exact word. Only personal Emmys this week. Yep. They went bipolar. Yeah. Oh, in Russia. Yeah. Did they have them in Russia? So they used to really only be on Antarctica. That was just, they hung out around Antarctica, but Antarctica was way out there. Laughter is the true fountain of youth. It may be. You know, sometimes you just have to laugh because everything is just so weird. Subway wedge cut never existed. Are you talking about sandwiches? I'm not a Subway expert, so I can't help you. I don't know. Subway's got some kind of secret evil strategy because they like, I don't think there's hardly any meat in there, but yet it tastes pretty good. Like they have magical spicing power. I'm almost afraid to know what I'm eating. It's like this does not have the texture of meat. It doesn't look like meat. It doesn't smell like meat. But yet when you eat it, it's not bad. And that scares me even more. It's like they're going to make fake meat as good as Subway, and a lot of people are going to eat that crap. Keeps us human. Yeah. What they say, pain plus time equals humor. You just got to use whatever you can. Subway tuna isn't tuna. I don't know. There's a lot of argument that they did have it tested and it was tuna, but they just have a giant boatload of roni of mayonnaise in it. A poof of food, basically. You're all going to learn the word poofa because unless this diet stops working, you're going to, I'm sorry, but I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to become like it's going to be my new religion. It's going to be the religion of saturated fat if I keep feeling this good. The Ukraine was Ukrainia before Soviet Union. Oh, I don't know. I've only known it as the Ukraine in my life, so I can't speak beyond that. They tasted canned tuna and couldn't figure out what it was. That is an interesting question. I mean, you assume that what's in the can is what they say it is, but you know, when I was young, I really liked canned tuna with mayo and a little bit of relish. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But in the last 10 years, it just isn't that good. It doesn't taste good anymore. I don't know why. I don't know. My taste buds changed. It changed. It's just not good. And I don't think it's the fault of the mayonnaise and the relish either. Okay, well, anyway, I guess I'm done. Kind of a slow Mandela week, so you got to hear about saturated fat. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a torture. Miracle Whip. What is even in that crap? I think Miracle Whip is a bunch more poofa, actually. You know what's really good is Cocoa Whip. Now, Miracle Whip, how is this timeline spelling it? Because it used to be WHIP. I think it's WIP now. Is that how you spell it? I can't even keep up with the realities. Miracle. Wait, is it back to WH? It is. That might be a flip-flop. I swear it was like some weird spelling for a while. Miracle Whip. Holy crap, it's back. Miracle Whip ingredients. That might be a flip-flop right there. I swear it was like WIP or some baloney like that. Yeah, isn't it a Miracle Whip? Isn't it like, that's pure, like, yeah, here it is. Mustard flour. Soybean oil is the #1 oil, then corn syrup, then eggs. Eggs are a little high in PUFA, but they have so many nutrients that in moderation it's worth it. Yeah, it's all soybean oil, basically. Soybean oil bombs. Miracle Whip. Did the stream reach more than 2 hours? No, it's 1 hour and 49 minutes. And I started like 5 minutes late, so I've got like 15 minutes still. I'm glad I didn't keep jumping into bad relationships. It's better to wait than be in a bad relationship. At least that's my, well, no, I think it really is. I wanted to say it's just my opinion, but no, I'm pretty sure it just is. I mean, I guess it's still my opinion, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, see, it was WIP. Yes, yes, found another one. See, they're everywhere. You can't stop thinking about it. I swear to God, it was like mustard flour. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Mustard flour, actually. I mean, is that just mustard? As the #1 ingredient, it's weird. Is that really the #1 ingredient? Let's see what's on here. Because that would mean there's more mustard flour than there is like soybean oil. You're not going to load. Seems a little fishy. Let's try this one. Miracle Whip ingredients labels. All right, now this is that water vinegar. See if I can make that larger. No, let's try this. Water, vinegar, sugar, olive oil. You know what? I think this is that special something. I don't think this is the ordinary one. Olive oil. They have one that's specially olive oily. It's not their original. And I think that's it. This one here might be the original. Let's see. Because it normally doesn't have olive oil in it. Soybean oil, apple cider. The heck? There's like 100 different versions of this stuff. Why give us a close-up and not show us the whole thing? You suck. Cheese cultures. I don't even know what that is. What's this one then? Water, vinegar, soybean oil. Modified food starch, high fructose corn syrup. Let's safe to say that they all have a bunch of soybean oil in them. Contains egg. So yeah, #1 is it's soybean oil, which is all PUFA. And then the one that had the canola oil looks like it was about half and half soybean and canola. Was it canola? No, olive. And it had half olive. That would be PUFA and then half MUFA. So still not on the diet really at all. You would avoid. Because of all the PUFA. You could just do oil and vinegar, would be a lot better. Yeah, I'm positive that was one of the Mandelas with the WIP, and I thought it was ridiculous. Went from WIP to WIP. Yes, that was for sure. So it's, yeah, there is no saturated fat word. There's PUFA and MUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acid and monosaturated fatty acid, and then saturated fat. So we just call it sat fat. I guess saturated fatty acid could be SAFA or SUFA, Satur. Miracle Whip used to be good. I still like mayo flavor-wise, but I do wonder if I stop eating it, if I'll stop liking it. I've definitely noticed that once some things that are PUFA, and I stopped eating them, and then I would taste them. I'm like, ew, why did I ever like that? Same thing with Cool Whip. Yeah, I think Cool Whip has a giant ton of PUFA in it too. All right. You know, it could have been Cool Whip that was the WIP. Was it Cool Whip that was the WIP? Cool Whip. That might have been the Cool Whip. No, the Cool Whip, it's still, okay, no. Cool Whip has the whole whip also, so it wasn't that. All right, nope. I was not able to debunk myself. Man, it had to have been one of those two because there's no more whips. Page is missing. Oh, not too bad. Cool Whip has 5 grams, 3.5 out of 5 grams sad fat. So not bad. Let's see. It doesn't say what is PUFA and MUFA, but we can kind of tell by here. Oh, no, wait. Cool Whip, really? It's made of heavy cream? I thought Cool Whip was a bunch of crap. Let's see. Palm kernel oil. Okay, palm kernel oil is pretty saturated. So tapioca syrup, basically sugar. Palm kernel oil. I can't read what's around the corner. Why did they do these things? Can we have an explanation of what's in there? Ingredientitos. The fat-free is hydrogenated vegetable. How is that fat-free? Total fat 0, and the number 3 ingredient is hydrogenated vegetable oil? How did they call that not? Adds a negligible amount of fat. But it's like the 3rd ingredient. Water, corn syrup, hydrogenated vegetable oil, coconut and palm kernel oils adds a negligible amount of fat. Then high fructose corn syrup. So what is this, like pure sugar then? Water, corn syrup, and then a bunch of oils, but it adds a negligible amount. That sounds like a big load of hooey. I don't know. These labeling laws. I had in my mind that Cool Whip was a bunch of PUFA, though. Let's see. I think Cocoa Whip, it's made out of coconut. If you ever had that it's pretty darn good. It's not exactly like Cool Whip, but it definitely tastes as good as Cool Whip. I think better, frankly. Once I've gotten used to it, I don't really like the Cool Whip as much. I know some people really hate Cool Whip too, so. Cool Whip has gone from homemade to even farther from homemade. All right, let's see. Cool Whip. Then versus now. Used to be water, hydrogenated vegetable oil, sugar, vanilla, and that stuff. What it is now. Water, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated vegetable oil is the worst crap too. It's worse than ordinary vegetable oil because it's totally unnatural. Basically, vegetable oil is too runny, so they stuff artificial hydrogens onto the molecules so it will be more solid. The coconut and palm kernel oils are not hideous. That would be saturated fat. But this hydrogenated vegetable oil is the evil undead. That stuff's it's not only PUFA, but there's a lot of other issues with it. Better to just get heavy whipping cream and whip up your own. So, Phylofear 3 is in, 4-leaf clover's in. Everybody's late to the party. Mandanimal's in. Sorry, guys, we're almost leaving. Ready Whip. Oh, maybe it was Ready Whip that was the whip. Ready Whip. Good point. Was it Ready Whip? I thought there was more of them, though. Ready Whip. Ready Whip is not one I don't think I would know. Okay, so Ready Whip still has a WIP, but I don't think it was that one. Although I do think Ready Whip used to have the H also. It still looks ridiculous. All right. Anyway, you get it. Ready Whip without an H. Cold is joke based. Anyway, watch out for that hydrogenated crap. That's like double bad. Double bad. 6.0 earthquakes almost opposite sides of Earth, 33 minutes apart. Interesting. Thanks for the great stream. Thank you, everyone. All right, I guess I'm checking out. Human brain is mostly fat. High fat diet is very good for us. Yeah, but it's like I was saying, Matt is new. Matt new is new. I was just talking about my that I've been targeting eating saturated fats and avoiding polyunsaturated fatty acids. So that's what I'm kind of talking about. So what your brain is made out of is saturated fats. It's actually not made out of any old fats. It's the majority saturated fat and a little bit of monounsaturated fat. So a lot of sat fat, a little bit of MUFA, almost no PUFA. So the diet basically says eat that, eat the same thing you're made out of. All right, anyways, so I was just telling everybody I love this diet because I feel freaking great, the best I've felt in years, and it's making me very happy, and I've seemed to have solved a bunch of my problems. So for that, I am like now religiously grateful to this diet, at least for the first 2 weeks, but fingers crossed. All right, anyways, think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.